So there's a question that's been gnawing at me for the better part of 2 decades now, and it's, how big is the world of Sonic Heroes? It seems like it's an easy answer at first glance, but all throughout the game, in almost every stage background, you can easily look out and be amazed by the sheer scale of the formations, mountains and valleys, cityscapes, and even plant life that ensnare this world. I have seriously spent countless hours just stopping along levels and looking out at the backdrops, trying to piece together the size and scale of everything surrounding me. This video is going to be a quick speculation on how big these areas are, and I'll just be running through all the things I've noticed and pieced together. Probably the single most notable example for me is Frog Forest. I spent longer trying to eye up this stage than any other, and I feel it's for good reason. I mean, take a good look at these mushrooms. Just the stage geometry alone, with Sonic being 3 feet tall, you can estimate these things being easily hundreds of meters across at the top. And then, you look down, and there's a forest top thousands of feet below you. You're seemingly closer to the clouds than the ground. And then, you look back at these mushrooms, and you realize they can't be floating, so they stretch thousands of feet down onto the earth. I mean, this is insane already. But then you take a look out into the background, and it only gets crazier. If you look at these mushrooms way off in the distance, you can imagine them being miles wide, given the height where you stand, the size of what surrounds you, how all of it would be dwarfed out of sight at that same distance, and how these few mushrooms completely trump the rest of the forest. I swear to God, these things are all the size of fucking Erd trees from Elden Ring. Even then, I honestly might think the Erd tree is smaller than one of these background mushrooms. The next example I want to use is Casino Park. Same deal here. You look down, all you see is this atmospheric drop to a sprawling Las Vegas-esque city. For what looks like miles and miles all around, you just see city lights, which isn't so unusual itself, but then you see these gargantuan buildings and signs of 777, a gigantic roulette table, and even fucking those spinball bouncer shits. And again, entirely speculatory eyeballing here, but those things are literally hundreds of feet tall and like, what, almost a mile across? Can you imagine 2 fucking massive pinball bouncers looming over the entire city, expanding on for thousands of feet, wall to wall? Can you imagine having to wake up every morning and look out your window at this fucking piece of a pinball machine just shrouding the city from the sun? While you're busy saying, that's not as ridiculous as the skyscraper mushrooms of Frog Forest, I present to you Real Canyon. Just look at this. See this? This tiny speck is where Sonic would be standing. I don't know about you, but these rock pillars totally are miles high. We are at least 12 kilometers into the air hopping between these pillars of God. Like, good luck falling, Sonic. You're gonna turn into a fucking meteorite and destroy a small town. I really just want to take a moment to appreciate the sheer drop to land this level has. I remember being terrified of this stage because falling meant falling straight to the depths of hell. And just like the mushrooms, these stone pillars are stretching from the ground miles into the air. Just seeing these landscapes makes me feel so minuscule. Some other things I want to touch on: Mystic Mansion. The mansion itself is a labyrinth for giants. I mean, who built all this? There's corridor after corridor leading to more corridors, stairways to nowhere, stairs that then drop straight down, rooms which only serve to house massive fans. I mean, what is going on here? And you're running through this mansion, and running, and then suddenly, bam, you're in this fucking dark pocket dimension filled with ghouls and badniks. All I can ever ask when playing this stage is, how deep does this go? By the time you leave the mansion and come out on the top, it even presents you with this gorgeous estate-sized gardenscape all around you, which itself has so many trees and pillars that it looks like it's at least a few miles in diameter. And again, this is the top of a mansion that is this big. And you know what? The level just before it, Hang Castle, this one boggles my mind more than any in the game. This is an immeasurably massive castle, just suspended over a black void. God knows how wide or deep. This entire castle, spanning the whole level, again, has to be miles and miles across. Where did Eggman get the time to make all this? I just can't stress enough how bonkers this stage is. The moon is big as can be in the skybox, presumably because you're just that high up in the air. But then there's also these gravity shits that totally change up which way you fall, and I'm just imagining being upside down as Sonic and fucking falling straight into space with no way of correcting it. Like, dude, Eggman either wanted Sonic dead or so confused he kills himself. I just can't get over how colossal some of these towers are. The very last one of the level, the one that you run down, takes about 30 full seconds of straight gunning it to the bottom. Literally looks like it's as tall as the Burj Khalifa, and I'm probably underestimating that by a lot. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the egg fleets, specifically the final fortress. Let me just show you an image. This is the outside of the fortress, and it does look like just another big ass ship. Well, it gets even bigger once you look at the inside. This is the start of this stage. Just look at that sheer drop. And no, the ship does not have an opening at the bottom. It is presumably just that enormous that it has its own weather system within the hull, with the entire level being comprised within this one ship running straight through it for almost 10 minutes. Never once do you see a beginning or end to it. You are consistently just walled in by these monolithic walls of metal and lights. This thing has to be the single largest structure in the entire game. I mean seriously, this thing goes on for miles upon miles. It genuinely might be the size of fucking Manhattan. And again, this is an airship we're talking about. No matter how many times I replay this game, to this day I can't help but stop and stare at all the surroundings it has to offer. To me, these backgrounds are so unbelievably rich with implications on the world around you, and they hold a ton of novelty for how much heart was put into them. For every inch of Sonic Heroes that I scrape, I always come across another undusted corner that I can pick apart at the dust molecules for little inklings of knowledge. This is easily one of the most surreal worlds of any Sonic game ever, and I absolutely adore all the little things it has to offer the player. As I close out this video, I'm just going to leave you with a slideshow of some restored high quality textures and backgrounds from the game. I just have a fond appreciation for this stuff, and I figure others might too.